everyone wants certainty.
Right.
But we know that's not the case.
Right.
Right? You build a new building. You want certainty. You love certainty that it's going to be fully leased, before you own it, and then you're going to have tenants. You start a new job. You go into a new business venture. You invest in something. Right. We all want certainty, but we know that doesn't exist, right?
Correct. Blockbuster, Kodak,
these
companies that were leaders in their market.
That Kodak CEO's got to be tired. Like the Blockbuster CEO, wherever he is, if he's still alive, he's got to be damn tired of, if one more of y'all tell that damn story.
Right.
Like Willie H. Willie H. Was that not just him basically like, oh yeah, that's a good one, Corey. Well, then there's also this other one here. Prepare for the best plan for the word.
That's exactly what you said.
Yeah. You sound like you're in the same pool, swimming in the same water right there. Yeah, I like that. Can one ever be ready?
This is the Grow Business Podcast with Corey Mosley.
Oh, man.
I think that meant to stun it.
That's it.
Oh, man, that's not... I think that picked up on the microphone. Oh man.
Oh, man.
What does that mean?
I'm going into the history of trying to find out this Richard Pryor
Warm
album. Hello.
Well, you misquoted it.
I quoted Richard Pryor. I called the wrong special.
Okay, yes, that's correct.
I associated the wrong special with Richard Pryor.
Yes.
That is correct.
Shame.
Shame, 100%. It's a low down dirty shame.
Shame.
100%.
Shame. You're showing your age. I think our demographic is 25 to 44 or something. So you may not even know who Richard Pryor is. You may not even know who Richard Pryor is. But, we're going to give you a pass today. LG 007 is going to get a pass for mixing up his black people.
I got the black person right. I just got the wrong show.
Well, you mixed up Eddie Murphy's show with Richard Pryor's show. So
yes. Yes.
Significantly different. Folks there. Okay.
Well, they're comedy.
Well,
they're both comedians.
I said I let you slide today.
You did let me slide.
I just let you slide
today. Let me slide. Yeah. Thank you.
At least you're not that woman in Passenger 57 that thought Wesley Snipes was Eddie Murphy. It was Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio Hall.
Woo. Well, folks, you have reached the right destination. You have found us, even if you weren't looking. We are here.
Yes,
this, of course, is the Grow Business Podcast. We come to you every week with some insights, tips, tactics, strategies, some conversation just in terms of growing your business. Yes. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Mosley. I'm joined by the incomparable LG 007. Lon Graham is in the building.
Voice of reason.
It's good to be here, Corey.
Yes, and he's off to a good start. 2 minutes and 30 seconds in. Can he keep it going? Willie H is here.
Hit the buttons, William.
That's right. Well, we've come to another week.
We have.
Each week brings something new to talk about, and some new topics to talk about. Folks, if this is your first time, welcome. The premise of our show is we base our show in helping you grow your business within our 5 pillars of business growth. Well, you look at, I'm not even going to involve you. I saw you just.
Well, I was bringing it into the screen.
How do you not know what they are?
I was bringing it into the screen.
Why? The screen doesn't need to see this.
Yeah,
but what if somebody's on Apple? People are streaming this on Spotify right now, or Apple, or iHeart, or Google Play, or all the places that we distribute to.
Well, YouTube, Spotify, and soon to be Apple are video podcasts,
sure.
and they're watching us. Mm-hmm. And so the history of the highlighter needs to be evident.
Right. Well, no. I mean, we're over 100 episodes now, so I don't think no one even knows.
That's a common thread.
We don't even know what happened in the first 5 or 6 episodes. What is the music? You need to find that
military
horn, that horn thing.
Taps.
The 5 pillars are. Go ahead there.
Mindset, sales, marketing, operations, and people.
All right, excellent. And folks, we believe every business growth challenge can be found if you take an approach of identifying, isolating, and attacking those issues. So we go deeper on that. I go deeper on that in my latest book, Position for Growth, available on Amazon, Kindle, all those good places. All right. So today I wanted to talk about fear.
Okay.
And breaking the fear barrier.
Okay.
So I want to give some tips and strategies. I want to have a conversation about, helping people move forward in their business when they don't have the answers.
Okay.
Right? Because many of the times, I would always give for years, I always explain to people from a consulting end, as a consultant.
Right.
I said, people get wrong the business that I'm in. I'm really in the business of change.
Okay.
Not sales, marketing, not consulting itself,
right,
but really change.
Okay.
Because what's happening is I'm asking a business owner or an organization to do something different tomorrow than they did the day before or yesterday, right?
Okay.
Now, how you go about that, how they see it, but everyone now meets that idea of what the unknown is. Everyone wants certainty.
Right.
But we know that's not the case.
Right.
Right? You build a new building. You want certainty. You love certainty that it's going to be fully leased before you own it, and you're going to have tenants. You start a new job. You go into a new business venture. You invest in something. Right. We all want certainty, but we know that doesn't exist, right?
Correct.
Mike Tyson often gets quoted, right? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Although I don't even know if he actually is the original author of that, but because that's been challenged. But nonetheless, I give the best credit that I know.
Sure.
So I'm not one of those quote jackers that take the stuff as their own. So, when we're talking about this idea of change and will this work, or should I do this? Should I sign up for this service? Should I start marketing this way? All these things are unfamiliar,
right?
And then fear, paralysis, analysis,
sure.
All these other things, all these other reasons come up why it's too warm, it's too cold,
right?
Inflation, non-inflation, rates too high, rates too low, like you know what I mean. So it all comes in that area. So it's not bad ideas often, because Seth Godin says something. The cost of doing nothing is often greater than the cost of being wrong.
Oh yeah,
Yes. So I think when we think about failure, or we think about businesses starting to regress or go the other way, it's not. I don't think bad ideas. I think in many cases it's a failure of hesitation.
Yeah. Well, it's a failure of action.
I'm sorry, they fail because of hesitation.
Right. It's a failure of action because of hesitation. Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've got 75 episodes that we could talk about fear. So today's a good place to get started.
Yeah, and I think for most people, I feel like they know what they need to do. Right? There are things that they know, not that they know what to do, but they know that there are things they need to do.
Right.
Raise their prices, hire help.
Right.
Maybe start investing in marketing or even modernizing their brand. Right. It's stale. It's kind of run down. Right. I mean, but it's this. I get stuck.
Right.
And a lot of times that's mental. Right.
Well, it's 100% mental. And one of the things that I've worked through multiple times throughout my career, is there's this perception of control, right? I want to be able to control the outcome. Mm-hmm. And people are afraid to do something when they can't control the outcome.
Yeah.
And so their hesitancy is, well, what happens if this? What happens if that? And most of us, because our minds are wired to be protective, to protect us from danger, we tend to focus on, well, what happens if this goes wrong? Well, we don't look at what happens if we do this and something beautiful and unexpected goes right. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are the things that... And
I put up a thing about a week ago, plan for the best case scenario too.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Not just the worst. Oh, prepare, plan, what is it? Plan for the... What is it? Hope for the best, plan for the... It's what is the... There's a saying there.
Yeah, There's multiple
hope
ones.
for the best, plan for the worst kind of thing.
Yeah. And the one I've heard is prepare for the best and plan for the worst.
Okay, that was basically what I was just trying to say.
That's 100%. I'm trying to give you credit.
Well, but you said it like, oh yeah, there's that one, and then this one I heard, which is the same freaking thing I just said, basically. Like Willie H. Willie H. Was that not just him basically like, oh yeah, that's a good one, Corey? Well, then there's also this other one here. Prepare for the best, plan for the worst.
That's exactly what you said.
Yeah. You sound like you're in the same pool, swimming in the same water right there. Yeah, I like that.
That's good.
Okay, we're going to get into these.
Let's do
these. Let's get into these.
Let's do them.
All right. Because we want you to break fear from the unknown. And finally, this magical word, execute. We want you to be executing. So let's get honest with the real problem.
Okay.
And I kind of alluded to it before I got to the information. But the real problem isn't strategy, it's uncertainty.
100%.
And I think that's an important insight, because even for a lot of business owners, it's not being stuck because of lack of knowledge, but because they can't control the outcome.
Right.
And now it just becomes a situation where, yes, I know, again, I should adjust prices. I know I should fire somebody. I should get rid of a bad employee. I know I should be investing in my growth. Like, Corey, I know I should do this, but I'm paralyzed, right? You said it. What if it doesn't work? What if I lose money? What if I mess this up? You know, I've worked for years with multi-generational businesses. Now the son or a grandson is involved. Terrified about making changes and, ruining the business or all these different things, which happens.
Lord have mercy. Right.
Which happens. Yeah. But again, now that crosses, because here's the thing, you're third generation in the deal. I guarantee you there were processes, procedures, technology, strategies that your great grandpappy were not even available.
Correct.
So it's like, oh, well, we've never had to rely on that before. Well, that didn't exist.
Correct.
I was doing a call, doing an intro call with a current client and a longtime friend of mine, industry friend, friend, but in the industry. And he said, I was doing the intro meeting, and he said to the CEO of the company, of the guy that I brought on, because the CEO said, well, how do you guys know each other? And he said, well, we've known each other a long time. But he said, I remember when I bought some of his CDs. It's my training material. He bought some of my training CDs.
Right.
Is how I relate. And I didn't even realize that he was a customer, like a customer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But he had bought some of my training CDs. So for my Gen Zs out there, these are these little round discs.
Yeah,
that you put in this other device that you had to carry around on your hip in a holster and listen to it.
Well, and talking about the changes in technology. So recently, the Artemis 2 went to the moon, made a lap, and came back.
Allegedly. So some people were saying the soundstage, but
yeah, well, okay. So allegedly it did that, but let's go back to the first trip to the moon and the Apollo missions, right? Yeah. The Apollo missions, the phone that you're carrying in your pocket, has more technology than the Apollo capsule had on the first trip to the moon.
That's pretty scary. Talking
about the advances in technology and advances in new information and new opportunities. So when you talk about change and fear of change, change is going to happen.
Right.
The question is are you driving it or dealing with it?
This might be a guy I want to work with.
Yeah. And I think so. And I think you're teeing this up perfectly, because the goal here is to create a shift.
Yes.
Right. So I don't want to seek certainty. I want to seek progress.
Yeah.
Right. If I can make that mind shift, like from, will this work?
Right.
To what will I learn?
Right.
Right. What will I learn from this?
Correct.
At whatever level. Because clarity does not come before a movement. It comes after it.
Woo. Right. When the church say amen.
Yeah.
Like, right? So, I mean, I think that's a big one. Pillar one, right? Mindset.
Correct.
Right?
100%.
Before you get tactical, before you get to a tactic or change a tactic or do that stuff, I've got to change my mental behavior. I've got to change what my approach is, what my belief system is, or what I think before I can then go, okay, great. What's the right product or solution to solve my problem? Well, I have to have the right mindset to want to solve the problem.
Correct.
I need to do it.
Absolutely. And, certainly only comes from what you've done, not what you're going to do. And so if you're looking for certainty, you're never going to get it moving forward.
Right.
What you're going to get is, like you talked about, Corey, progress is such a powerful word, because progress is going in a direction towards success in the way that you've defined it. And as long as you clearly define success and what you want to accomplish, then you've got to do things differently to make progress towards success in that way.
I like it. All right, number 2. Fear of the unknown is really fear of loss.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because at its core, fear is about the future.
Right.
Right? Or I'm sorry, when we think of the future, it's not about the future that's kicking in when you look at fear. It's not understanding or being worried about what you might lose.
Right.
If I do this,
Yeah. And I mean, look, it's real, right? I mean, there's neuroscience data and information, and we've learned so much over time, and especially in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Our brain is wired for safety and protection, and that goes back to the caveman days, worrying about a tiger going to eat you.
Right.
I mean, it's like if I walk outside the cave,
right,
what's going to be outside the cave that I can't use GPS satellite tracking to figure out to make sure I'm going in the right direction? I mean,
well, we've replaced though, right? So we've replaced getting eaten by a lion with, what if I lose money? What if I lose my reputation? What if I lose stability? What if I lose control?
Right. 100%. Yeah. And so, and those things, while what we're afraid of is different, the way fear represents itself is the same. It's we don't know what's coming,
right, and
we don't know what's going to happen, and so we're going to fear that it's the worst. And it's the people, we've talked about Ed Milet before. I listened to a lot of his podcast a lot, and he talks about the people that are the most successful have the lowest threshold for the information that they need to have to move forward. So many of us want to have all the answers before we take the step, but we haven't. The only way we're going to get all the answers is to take the step.
Well, it reminds me, Sam Evans, he built a really big consulting business, actually owned the URL consulting.com.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's how early he was into kind of realizing that. But his belief system and what he would teach to other experts or people who wanted to get into consulting was, you only have to know more than the person you're trying to help.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
You don't have to know everything. You don't need to be, if you're an advertising consultant, you don't need to be the greatest advertiser. You don't need to be Ogilvy. You don't need to be the greatest advertiser that ever lived. If you're a management consultant, you don't need to have been a CEO. So you need to have more information than the person you're trying to help.
Yes.
To be effective and not be, and there's nothing off about that, but that's just it, right?
Right.
So, if I'm a fitness coach and you're fat, if I went from fat to fit, I just need to know a little bit more. I need to know a little bit more about macros. I need a little bit more about calorie in, calorie out. Some of the stuff. I just need to know a little bit more.
Right.
So that kind of leads, to where you were going. The other thing here is that we talk about reframing. Just a minute ago, we were talking about reframing how we were thinking about certainty. We don't understand, or people don't realize, give the same energy to the fact that being stuck and not moving forward into something also creates loss.
Yes.
Right? You got to give fair emotional equity to the situation here. So lost revenue, lost opportunities, lost momentum, all of those things happen also.
Yeah, Corey, and the word that I'm focused on and what you just said is opportunity, right? We talk about opportunity costs a lot. Mm-hmm. What are you giving up for what you're doing? Well, this is the same. Opportunity cost is what are you giving up for what you're keeping?
Right.
So if you're afraid to go after something and let go of a piece of what you already have, all you're going to get is what you already have.
Right.
And the opportunity cost is what you could become, the growth, new customers, new business, new exposure, all of it.
Right.
And that opportunity cost is you're not getting it because you're still holding on tight to where you are.
Les Brown often talks about, being at your deathbed and sitting at the foot of the bed are the ghosts of all the ideas and dreams that you had.
Right.
And they're looking at you saying, we came to you.
Right.
And you did nothing.
Right.
And now we will die with you.
Right.
And obviously he does it in a much more elegant, motivational way.
Right.
People crying and stuff.
Right. Sure.
And getting motivated. But, in this context, from a business perspective, hey, do a cost of inaction exercise, right? Ask yourself, if nothing changes in the next 12 months, right? What does your revenue look like?
Right.
How do you feel? What opportunities, poof, have evaporated?
Right.
What's gone?
Right.
You look at things like, we have, one of my clients is in the AI space, and, it was now or never. It was get in or not.
Right.
This thing's a rocket ship. I can't. I can't go. You know what? I'll look at this next year. Do you know this thing will be on the moon? This thing will be in the stratosphere the next year.
That's right.
Next year, you and I might not even be. We might be clones. I might not. We might. I might just phone this in like a animated series.
Okay.
We just talk from wherever we are in the country. We just long talk, and then it's our body just here, and it's just like, and it's like we're here and we're doing this, and no one knows that we're. Who are you kidding?
Correct.
So that's a killer. I mean, doing nothing, LG feels safe, but it might be one of the riskiest things you could do.
Well, I mean, we talk about a graveyard of businesses that weren't willing to adapt and advance, right? Blockbuster, Kodak, these companies that were leaders in their market.
That Kodak CEO's got to be tired. Like the Blockbuster CEO, wherever he is, if he's still alive, he's got to be damn tired of, if one more of y'all tell that damn story.
Right. Well, and, they're the death.
We made a mistake. Jesus. Can't y'all let it go? Can't you let it go, Netflix and the internet?
Right. Exactly.
We made a mistake at Blockbuster.
Right.
We laughed and we shouldn't have laughed.
That's right.
We told them they would fail and we were wrong.
Right.
But here's what I'm probably going to go on the limb and say. The men in that room, because I'm going to gander back then, it was probably all men in the room.
Likely.
Yeah.
Likely.
The men in that room all probably made out okay.
And you better
because
believe
in the
it.
corporate world, a bankruptcy does not mean a personal bankruptcy.
Correct. Yeah. That's true.
So, yes, I ran the deal into the ground, but I got my $15 million golden parachute or more. I could be light.
Right. Yeah. At that level, you might be.
Yeah. Right?
It's interesting. When we're good at something, we tend to hold on to it because we're good at it. And so we talk about it. I talk about this, bring it back to what our conversation is fear of change. And we're afraid to not be good at something. And I say this standing in front of me on the ground in front of a mirror. I have been good at something and struggled to adopt something new because I didn't want to get embarrassed that I wasn't good at it.
Right. Sure.
And so sometimes we do that. Sometimes we hold on, business owners, consultants, we hold on to what we know, not for fear of what's going to happen, but for fear of embarrassment, because we're supposed to be the experts. So if we try something that doesn't work, then we expose ourselves as maybe we're not really an expert, or at least not in what we tried, and nobody's good the first time.
Voice of reason.
All right, number 3.
Yep.
Replace big risks with controlled experiments.
Okay.
Right? So, I'm going all in. Okay, well, hold on.
Right.
Right? The pendulum swings both ways. I think people miss that. Fear thrives, I think, when decisions kind of feel like permanent,
right,
or too big or massive,
right.
And it's like, oh yes, let's raise that fear quotient, because the bigger you're thinking, the more scary, it is.
Correct.
They always say, like, it's easier to raise $5 million than 50,000.
Oh,
and that sounds crazy,
right?
And most people will tell you also, it's easier to make another million once you've already made. Like, the hard part is sometimes people have the wrong, like, you're better off setting a $10 million goal than you are a $100,000 goal,
right?
In what they say psychologically
Correct.
speaking. So the idea here and the strategy here is to turn some of those decisions into tests.
Right.
Of commitment, right? Instead of commitments.
Right.
Right? Beta. That's the favorite word in the tech community, right? Everything.
Right.
I see something in beta. I was talking to a guy the other day. I'm like, oh, you got this feature in beta. So I'm not, so when's it going to crash?
Right.
Because that's the term that was created so
Correct.
that you didn't have, so a tech company doesn't have to have responsibility for what happens. Oh, well, we said it was in beta.
Right. Well, and beta is designed to find the point of failure, right? I mean, the reality of it is it's designed to find out how far it can go before it fails.
And every model has a version of that. Like,
Correct.
I think about Broadway.
Yeah.
Before a show goes full Broadway, it's in previews.
Yes.
And the previews are a short cluster, small group of tickets.
Right.
So it's limited shows, so they can,
right,
make sure that the thespian, who is a big-time actor who they're bringing on Broadway to sell tickets, can actually do theater.
Can deliver on that.
Right, and not just, do a blockbuster movie where they can cut and start again and do all these other things. So they have previews. So we all use this.
Correct.
I mean, a big corporation, I've done business with Fortune 500 companies, and, we did a rollout.
Yeah.
A tiered rollout or a structured rollout of a program where we were trying to reach, maybe 3,000 retailers. Well, it didn't go to 3,000 retailers first. Right. It went to 50 retailers, then 300 retailers, and then you work and refine from there. So I think, don't rebrand the whole company.
Right.
Test a landing page. You know what I mean? So it's like, don't go do a full-time hire where you've got to commit to all the expenses to go along with that.
Right.
Start with a contractor or a freelancer and stare that up. Don't raise prices just across the board.
Right.
Stair step it or pilot it with new customers or those types of things.
Correct.
Get us Corey Mosley. Bingo.
I'm gonna turn around for the risk for a minute.
Yeah.
I worked in, I spent a long time in surgical sales, and we made some changes. And I was a sales manager for the state of Virginia at the time, and we made some changes internally, and we promoted somebody that was in a role that they were very successful, and it exposed that role. We didn't have somebody to promote to be able to take on that entire role for the entire state. So what I advocated for was we had somebody who had experience in that category, and I advocated, let's promote this person and give them the Richmond market where we were centrally located, and let's see what they do. Well, the person that I needed to get to sign off on that wouldn't sign off on doing that.
Right.
And so that business that year fell off. I mean, we lost about 20% of our business that year.
Wow.
Now, fortunately, it wasn't, it was a smaller portion of the overall
and
piece.
Did that person take responsibility for his not making the decision?
Well,
I think we know the answer to that question, folks.
Let's just say we agree to disagree on that.
Dum.
Right. My point is this. My point is this: is that there are things like you talk about, there are things you know you need to do. What's the cost of not doing it?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be at full scale. I'm a big fan of Jim Collins' books, and he talks about fire bullets and then cannonballs. And that's a piece of what you're saying, Corey, is do something at a small scale, either the full scope with a small group of people. Right.
Define the test, define 100%. The timeline, define the metric.
And define the reach. And then do that, and then assess it, and then decide how big you want to go with it.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think, folks, I think, you don't need courage to bet the company.
Right.
Right? Like, it's not, I need to build up my courage. I think what we're suggesting here is having the discipline to run experiments.
Yeah.
And to test.
Yes.
And having the mindset to do that. And then that will be that becomes part of the fabric of how you make decisions and ultimately how you make better decisions.
Correct.
Right? Versus the build of, Corey, we're just gonna go leap. We just gotta go do it. I slept on it, I got up excited, and we're just gonna go do it. And listen, okay.
Right.
But there's another way too.
Correct.
Right? So if that's causing your ultimate, delay.
Correct.
Right? So okay.
Yeah, and I'll say one other thing too.
Sure.
We tend to our target market is established businesses that are in our, what we're here to do is talk about growth.
Yeah.
In order to grow, though, you've got to try some things that lead to growth. Companies like Amazon, companies like Microsoft, these companies, we only see their success. We don't see behind the curtain all the things that they tried that didn't work.
Sure.
That led to their success. And the reality of it is there's going to be more things that you try that don't work than do. So give yourself the capacity to learn from those things so that you can develop the thing that works great for you.
Right.
This might be a guy I want to work with.
Could be. Head over to longraham.com and see if that is true.
100%.
Have Lon come in and work with your sales leaders. That's right. As we go into 4, I think it's interesting to think about part of the thing that I think people have fears beyond. Well, a big thing that gets talked about now is the emphasis on putting yourself more into your brand too. And this idea that, the loyalty doesn't exist like it used to.
Correct.
To companies, fealty to a company.
Right.
Right. Whereas people are investing more in personalities.
Yes.
And for that to work, you have to have authority.
Yes.
And for authority to work, you have to have assets that talk about that authority. Why don't you talk to us about that for a second?
Yeah, Corey, and thank you for saying that, because what Corey just said about authority is real. Right now people are deciding if they trust you before they ever reach out. And if you don't look like the authority, you don't even get the opportunity. And that's why we created the Obvious Choice interview. It's a professionally produced TV-style interview that showcases your expertise, your story, and how you help your clients. So when prospects find you, you're not just another option, you're the obvious choice. You can use it on your website, on social media, in your sales process, anywhere trust matters. If you want to see what it looks like and how it works, just head over to obviouschoiceinterview.com.
Excellent. All right, segment, we'll talk about, segment 4, but topic 4 here. Build a decision-making system, right? Not emotional reactions.
Yes.
So I missed that. Yeah, I like that. So fear takes over when decisions are emotional,
right,
instead of structured.
Right.
So it creates this opportunity. And, from a strategic standpoint, simple is always better. Right. So, apply a decision filter. What are some of the things that you're asking? you're asking things like, does this align with growth?
Yeah.
Does this solve a real bottleneck?
Right.
What's the downside? And can I survive it? If the downside is survivable, move forward.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that my niece is an engineer in the Air Force, and one of the things we were talking about that I learned, engineers design to a point of failure. Like, what is the point of failure? So when you're looking at trying something new, understand where it could go wrong, understand where it could fail, and design for progress away from that.
Right.
So, and then like you said, if that is failure, can I survive it? And that's something that you talk about, am I still alive? Am I still living?
Right.
Is it going to kill me? And the answer is most of the time, no. And especially if you do it at a smaller scale so that you can develop as you make progress.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think when we go back to that fear and really use the word indecision, which I think that indecision is basically fear
right,
disguised as being careful.
Right.
Like if we make it that simple. Simplify it.
Well said.
Yeah. All right, apparently, I don't know. I didn't get anything from
It's holding out for you.
Yeah.
Yes, it is fear. That is so. We wait to make decisions. Yeah.
I gave him another opportunity to.
We tried, didn't work.
But guess
Voice of reason.
Okay, I'll wait. Oh yeah, I'll take it. I'm going to take that today. Thank you. All right,
for you.
Number 5. Here's our final one. Confidence comes from reps, not certainty.
Right.
Confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you build.
Right.
So, here's the reality.
Right.
Here's what we know. Your first move will be uncomfortable.
Right.
Your second move might feel slightly easier.
Right.
Your 10th move, I think you're going to wonder why you waited.
Yeah. Right.
Bingo!
How many times have we talked to people who've, we're talking to them on the other side of a successful venture, on the other side of a successful thing that they've done, and we're talking to them because we're recognizing that success and we want to learn from them.
Right.
And one thing that I've heard people say multiple times is I wish I'd have done it sooner.
Mm.
I wish I would have decided sooner.
Right.
Now, in hindsight, that's a great thing to say. We needed to build up the reps to build momentum, right? Motion builds momentum, and then momentum builds confidence. And so you got to take the car out of park to move.
Mm. Okay.
Well,
voice of reason.
that's like my swimming.
All right, you've got to take the. You're going to be famous for some of these. You got to take the car out of park to move. There you go.
Right, but if the reality is you sit behind the wheel.
I'm gonna give you full credit for that one.
Yeah, I'll take full credit for that. If you're sitting behind the wheel, though, and you're like, I should do this.
I get it.
Right.
I get the analogy. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Gotta take the fuck out of there.
Right.
All right, so
release the brake.
Yes, folks, release the brake and take the car out of the park. More importantly, I want to challenge you. I mean, Lon gave you the ultimate challenge there to take the car out of the park, but I want to challenge you to create a bias for action. Right?
Yes.
So, what is your non-negotiable weekly growth move going to be?
Right.
And small things count here, right? It doesn't have to be grand gestures. Right. So is there an outreach? Is there a test? Is there an upgrade? Look at it that way. Don't think your way into confidence, because you don't.
Right.
You act your way into it.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a mindset shift in terms of how we do that, because it becomes much harder to grow the business if the person doesn't grow.
Right.
And sometimes that's going to require bold decisions.
Let the church say amen.
Indeed. I hope this works. I hope this works.
Right.
No. I will figure it out no matter what happens.
Right. What you said about it's hard to grow the business if the person doesn't grow is so true. We get limited by our perceived limitations.
Yeah.
And so if you want to do something and you don't think you know how to do it, then maybe reach out and hire a professional.
Yeah, sure.
You talk about that all the time.
Professionals hire professionals when they need help.
100%.
That's right.
And so if you want to grow a certain area of your business, then talk to somebody who's already done it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, many times growth requires a new identity, right?
100%.
We're talking strategy here. Strategies are great, but sometimes it requires a new identity, not just new strategies.
Right.
And, are you prepared to do that?
People say it's the way we've always done it.
Right.
That's an identity.
Right.
And you were locked into this has always worked for us.
Are you protecting yourself? Are you protecting the business? Or are you just protecting your comfort?
Well, comfort and ego, right?
Yeah.
Both of them. Are you protecting, again, I don't want to try something new because I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's an ego component. It's an identity component. All of those things. And the reality of it is if you're not willing to try at least something new and overcome your fear of trying something new, your business is not going to grow. And that's the foundation of Position for Growth, your book. That's the foundation of this podcast, is what are we doing to grow our business, to grow our identity, to grow our company. So absolutely.
All right.
Maybe this guy can help.
Yeah,
me.
I think we're going to leave it there. I mean, identify one thing you've been avoiding in your business, right? See if you can turn that into a small test. Execute it. Execute it within the next 7 days. Take immediate action. It's at its core. I talk to, we're in all these programs and monitoring my blood work and, trying to get healthier and all these other things. And I would talk to the health coach that's assigned to me. And I said, I don't have an awareness issue. Or a lack of knowledge in this area. I'm intelligent enough to know that, adding sugar to my coffee or drinking sweet tea instead of water obviously raises my calorie count, creates unnecessary sugar, fluctuates insulin, messes with all these things. Right. I know that, broccoli is healthier probably than a big bowl of bolognese pasta. So it's not the lack of knowledge, it's the mental capacity to choose the broccoli over the big bowl of pasta.
Right.
To choose, I'm having coffee for this episode. It's a morning taping, and it's black. That was a conscious. Now, my 3:30 coffee, depending on what's on my schedule, how many meetings I've had. Right. So sometimes I go to make that coffee in the office, and I'm like, I need a little something, and I'll go I'll see what's left because Willie H is a sugar fiend. So I'll see what's left in the sugar bowl, and I will have, and then I will have a little bit there, conscious. So it's like, it's not from knowing. Growth, this activity, the things we're talking about, will not change from knowing. Right. It will only change from doing.
Right.
I know that walking after every meal lowers glucose and helps your body, helps your digestive system, and all those other things. Great.
Right.
It's only going to benefit me if I get on the damn treadmill.
Right. Well, and it goes back to, you talked about identity, right? It goes back to how do you see yourself?
Right.
And how do you see who you want to be?
Yeah.
And what are you willing to do to get?
And the sabotage that goes in there. We're going to do a whole nother episode. I've been getting really educated in the areas of ADHD because I definitely have come to the realization that I identify in that space. It explains so much of my behavior over the last 20 years. So I'm really digging into that, and I'm learning about, neurodivergent issues and neurodivergent burnout and these different factors. And we're going to do a whole episode on that because I know that I know that our listeners are having some of these issues. Not understanding where they're coming from or their behavior or all these. It's very fascinating. So I can't wait to dig into that. I want to just formulate it. So, I think it's really good information. I want to digest it before we have a conversation. But it's really fascinating because it just explains so much of our actions, particularly in the entrepreneurship community. Right. Because people didn't know about this. My mother didn't know what ADHD, the doctors didn't know. Right. To identify this or to how to deal with it or not deal with it, particularly early. Correct. So it's just, and I was in a 2-hour session last night about it. So it's like fresh in my head. Sure. I'm thinking about it. But we're going to be talking about that because there's a lot of nuances here. We just talked for an hour about, changing your mindset and adjusting this, adjusting that. Well, okay, great, Corey. Change is easy. You go first, right? So it is taking your own medicine here, but there are ways. We just have to work at it. And it's the same way. Like I will approach the diet situation. Right. I'm not going to beat myself up because I put sugar in my coffee later. Right. Because tomorrow's a new day. And my body doesn't recognize it's 11 a.m. per se. Right. On the day it is. Correct. Right. Whatever. It doesn't know it's Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday. Right. Or whatever. It's the cycle of the rhythm. Right. So I can fix it. Right. Right. I can adjust it. So, all right. We're going to leave it there because I'm on a whole nother episode. Yeah, I'm a whole nother episode already, but it's just very fascinating information. Folks, I encourage you to check out Position for Growth. Head over to Amazon.com. I encourage you to learn more about some of the services that Lon offers, working with your sales team, sales leaders. I'm at longraham.com. You can come over to CoreyMosley.com. Look at some of the things that we're doing. Continue to support the podcast. Share this. If you've got friends in the entrepreneurship community, if you're part of an organization, we're blessed. We feed out to several organizations that have us in their learning portals and in their portals in their associations so that their members every week can get the episode beamed right to them through an RSS feed. Feel free to reach out hello@CoreyMosley.com for that. A last note I will make is we are, anybody who watches. So here's a giveaway if you solicit us. If you solicit us pitching us guests, that tells me you don't know how our show operates. Because I can't tell you how many in my inbox is like, oh, this person would be great. This person would be great. Right. This is not a guest-driven show. This is us talking. If you like us, you keep coming back. Right. If you don't, you don't. And if you like our information. So just a word to the marketers out there that think this is a great podcast to pitch their person on or pitch yourself on. Right. We're not guest-driven, but we do love having you. We do welcome your topics. You can send those to hello@CoreyMosley.com. Also, that's it. Give you the quasi. I call it the last word, but the pre-close. I give you the pre-close.
The penultimate close.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh, excuse me. Past the Cré Poupon. All right.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming back. And next time, bring a friend because we got a great episode coming up on ADHD.
Yeah, bring your neurodivergent folks.
Right, exactly.
Well, this has been another episode of the Grow Business Podcast. On behalf of myself, LG007, and Willie H., we appreciate you being here, and we will see you next week. Willie H., take us out. We'll let you go back to figuring out with Richard Pryor.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was live. Did you look up Live from the Sunset Strip?
I did not.
I think that's what it was from.
Let's see.
But I'll leave it to you. I got 80 emails doing the podcast. I'll let you track that down.